Self-care has a bit of a reputation for being bubble baths and a cheeky treat or two, but it's actually way more than that. In fact, it's one of the easiest ways to look after your mental health. So today I'm sharing 9 self-care ideas for better mental health, including one that's so effective it will change your life for the better. So let's talk. Hi, I'm Jeremy Godwin and I talk about looking after your mental health. I had a total breakdown in 2011, followed by a few years of severe anxiety and depression, and that took me on a journey of learning more about mental health. I did a degree in psychology and sociology, and now I create the kind of content I couldn't find when I needed it. Simple advice on how to look after your mental health, from someone who actually understands what it's like to go through mental health challenges. So let's talk about self-care, because it might sound like taking some time out for yourself on a regular basis is a bit self-indulgent, but in fact, it's basic survival. This is a bit of a cliche to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your phone needs to be recharged on a regular basis, and so do you, because you cannot run on empty non-stop. That is how stress and burnout happens. Instead of running yourself into the ground and then wondering why you have no energy left, make a little time each day to rest and reset by doing simple things that help you to take care of yourself and slow down and be in the moment. Starting with my first tip, go outside for some fresh air, which is much easier to do when the weather is nice, but even when it's a shocker of a day, you can still open a window or door for a few minutes and get some fresh air. Whether you're outdoors or just on the inside looking out for a bit, fresh air helps you to feel a bit calmer, and it's preferable to spending all day being stuck in air conditioning because, dry skin. Ugh. So that leads to my next tip, take a walk. Because getting outside is one thing, but moving your body actually helps you to recharge because energy creates energy. If you're at home, take a walk in the morning or evening, depending on what you prefer. Or if you're at work, then take a walk around the block or go to a local park during your lunch break. It really beats eating al desco, where you hunch over your desk wolfing down a meal while you're working. And speaking of, my next tip is actually take your lunch break, because shoveling food in your mouth while frantically trying to keep on doing work just isn't good for you. A break is meant to be time to recharge for the rest of the day ahead. So take your break. And this is also important if you work from home. The human body was not designed to sit still for 8 hours at a stretch, so take a proper break and look after yourself. Which leads to change your scenery, because self-care involves also doing your work from a different location or switching up what you do on the weekend, and it helps you to feel fresh and more energized. I work for myself, and every now and then I like to take my laptop to a cafe to work for a few hours over a nice meal and several many coffees. Being in a new location creates variety, and it can actually spark your creativity. Next, do something mindful, like spending a few minutes admiring the flowers in the garden or doing some breathing exercises. The main point here is about doing something intentional to help you be more present. And being present was a topic I covered in episode 83 of my podcast, and it's linked in the episode description below. Next, do something interesting just for you. And this is about treating yourself by doing something you enjoy. It doesn't have to cost any money. I love visiting a museum or a gallery, or even better, spending an entire day in IKEA. Don't judge me, I've been obsessed with IKEA since I was 8 years old. It doesn't matter what it is. The point here is about consciously choosing to do something that is just for you, even if it's only every now and then. Another way you can do that is have a nice meal. And by nice, I mean good quality, so not just a quick takeaway. Whether you cook it yourself or you go somewhere nice, the whole point is that we need to eat. However, you can elevate even a simple meal into a joyful occasion that makes you feel good about your choices. You don't have to do it every day, and seriously, who has the time? But try to do this for yourself at least once a week. Okay, so now let me share one that you can do very easily every day, and it is read a book or a magazine somewhere quiet. Because reading is fairly relaxing, assuming that your content of choice isn't true crime stuff or horror. I like to read for 15 to 20 minutes in the evening, and sometimes I read a book, or others I'm just not in the mood, so I might flip through a magazine on my iPad, because it doesn't really require me to have to think too much. This is about having some time to let your brain just unwind, with a bit of content that feels interesting or inspiring to you, or both. Okay, next, switch off your devices every now and then, or at least leave them alone for a while. And this is that incredibly effective one that I talked about at the start of the episode. You know how it's kind of second nature for most of us to reach for our phones and check social media when we've got some downtime or when we're standing in the queue at the supermarket? Don't. Those few minutes are actually the perfect opportunity for some self-care by just being fully present and letting your mind wander for a bit. Because your brain needs a mental break every now and then to just be. And besides, all that social media content will still be there to look at later if you really want to. The point here is don't just exist, truly live your life. And that involves choosing to look up from your screen more often. The choice is yours, as it is with all things related to your well-being. So, what choice will you make today? Let me know in the comments below. And for even more ways to look after your mental health, watch this video next where I share the basics of good mental health. Click the link to watch it now. And you'll find even more advice on looking after your well-being on my weekly podcast, Let's Talk About Mental Health. It's linked in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care and talk to you next time.